This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling
¡No! Lo salté sin querer. Lo salté sin querer.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Va de nuevo. Perdón.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427
Está algo
and
alto,
he pushed
¿no?
buttons on a keyboard.
Ahorita le bajo.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oigan. Se ve chulo, ¿eh? O sea, ya me está atrapando la historia y ni siquiera hemos empezado. Chicos, el audio, ¿cómo está? ¿Le bajo? ¿Está bien ahí? ¿Qué dicen ustedes? Luciendo Godín, ándale. Ándale. ¿Le bajo? ¿Lo dejo ahí? ¿Le subo un poquito? ¿Qué dicen? ¿Cómo está de audio? Ahora sí está Gucci. Está bien, entonces. Muévete. Pues ya me estoy moviendo. Son las 11 de la mañana. ¿Yo lo escucho bien? Ok, perfecto. Y el café. Ya ando tomando café, de hecho. Hoy va a ser café al fallo para las 24 horas. ¿Cuánto llevamos? 1 hora. Faltan 23 más. A ver. ¿Puedo revisar cosas? ¿Puedo agarrar cosas? ¿Por qué se escucha como si tecleara? Y la corbata Gorbín. Ponte corbata. ¿Dónde hay corbata? No tengo corbatas yo en mi casa. A ver, 428. No puedo abrir la 428. Oye, como que está muy... Uy. Está muy fuerte la sensibilidad, ¿no? ¿La cambié? Uf, sigue estando rápida. Oye. Esto está muy cagado, ¿eh? Da gustito. Da gustito y todo, ¿eh? Es como muy ASMR, ¿no les pasa? ¡Oh! ¡Qué rico! Mi teclado no
All his
suena.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
La sala de reuniones.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
¿Cómo estás, Jan? ¿Cómo anda, papi? Sala de reuniones. Ojo. ¿Puedo agarrar cosas? ¿Por qué todo se escucha como si tecleara? Parecen los backrooms, ¿no? Pero modo Godín. Oye, apagué algo aquí, ¿eh? ¿Y a ver esta? Las puedo apagar. ¿La puedo prender? No. Los backrooms modo Godín. ¿No puedo abrir esto? ¿No puedo abrir esto?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oye, da gustito escuchar el teclado, ¿eh? Ay, cerré la puerta. Oye, se dejó de escuchar música.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Pues yo voy para la derecha.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
La sala de empleados. Esta es la sala de empleados.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Oye, se ve guapo, ¿eh?
Yeah. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ok, la primera puerta a la izquierda. Excelente. Seguimos derecho entonces.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Chicos, ¿está bien el audio? ¿O está muy fuerte la voz del narrador? Pero escucho algo fuerte, no sé ustedes. ¿Está bien? Ok, ok. Pero no se sobrepone a mi voz. O sea, yo sí me escucho. Penalización por... no sé qué es mi SUSE. $1000 de cargo. Penalización por saltar fuera del cargo. $5000.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not sure, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
¡Es muy bueno! ¿What?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Okay,
Stanley
okay.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ok, me morí. Volvemos. ¡Ey, está bueno esta mierda, eh!
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Solo para admirarla.
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Es bonita. O sea, realmente sí es bonita. O sea, aquí me relajaría, ¿no? Psicológicamente hablando, por algo son de color
really, really worth it being
azul.
here
No,
in the
cállate un
room.
rato, va.
A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings.
Efectivamente.
Really worth it.
Ajá. Ya cállate, pues. Es bonita, ¿no? Tiene psicología esto, ¿no? De que la habitación sea así, azul o algo,
At
la
this
elección de
point,
colores.
Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on
¡Ya
creepy
cállate,
and
vergas!
reflected poorly on his overall personality.
Shut up!
It's possible that this is why everyone left.
¿Y cuál es el problema, pues? ¿Habrá cosas por
Stanley
aquí?
sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
¿Me puedo agachar? Aquí me voy a caer. Y me la pela. Aquí me voy a caer. Oye, está chido escuchar el reloj, ¿eh? Aquí me voy a caer. Chicos, buen gameplay, ¿no? Están entretenidos. ¿Les gusta lo que vemos? Pues sería referencia a la soledad, porque estás solo literalmente. Este cuarto. Pero a lo que me refiero, psicológicamente hablando, el color azul, así como azul oficina y el blanco, la combinación de colores, tiene algo de psicología, ¿no? O sea, de que te sientes a gusto. Me siento a gusto en esta habitación, ¿sabes? Nada más relajante que un reloj haciendo toque. Y entre más me acerco, más mejor suena, ¿no? Vámonos. Ya, seguimos.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
¿Le hacemos caso? No creo.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Shut up. Me despidieron tu padre. No puedo saltar, ¿verdad? ¿Puedo abrir acá? A ver. Chicos, porque todo suena a teclado. Me raya eso.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
¿Quién es ella?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ya, ¿y solo tengo esta opción? ¿No puedo subir aquí otra vez? ¿Habrá algún lugar donde tirarme? No, ¿verdad? Me muero. Uy, ¿por acá? No puedo ir hacia abajo. No puedo saltar tampoco. Tengo que ir por aquí. Es la única chance que hay. Sí, no hay otra opción. ¡Ay, vergas!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? That wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
¡Güey, me encanta!
No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner?
¿Qué cosa?
You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be...
¿No le puedo poner pausa o algo? ¿O salir? Saltar. Ah, sí se puede saltar, ¿eh?
the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Hermano, le estoy picando todo y no hay forma.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
¿No hay otro lugar por aquí? Debe haber otra forma de salir. No puedo buguear algo. Chingado. ¿Y ahora? Oh, ¿y esto?
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
¿Cómo? Pasaste de Godín a ayudante de almacén, streamer en decadencia. Shut up. ¿Me puedo matar por aquí? No puedo. ¿No puedo saltar? No me dejan. Me pusieron barreras. ¡Ay, vergas! ¡Qué susto! ¿Y ahora? ¿Y ahora para dónde?
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
La puerta de la izquierda.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Chingado. Deja de pasar. Coño. Aquí estoy, pues.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
¡Ay, vergas!
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground.
Oigan, la
What,
voz
did you think that would be
está
funny?
muy bien hecha,
You
me
just had to
encanta.
see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He
Shut up.
understands that
Yo
if
no
I
soy
say
Stanley,
to
me
do
la
something,
pelas.
there's a damn good reason for it.
Shut
That
up.
thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
Y...
Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious.
Me la
It would have been
pela.
so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right.
Okay, va.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Qué pasa si voy atrás? ¿Y si no tomo ninguna?
MaxixNace22 dice, Bro Stanley está bien, güey. Copia y pega si crees que es verdad.
¿Y si me voy? ¿Y si no voy a ninguna parte? ¿Y si me quedo aquí nada más? Lo Stanley está bien, güey. Copia y pega si crees que es verdad. No entiendo ese copypasta. No entiendo ese copypasta. A ver. Vamos a hacerle caso, vamos a hacerle caso. ¿Sabes qué? Voy a desactivar esa recompensa. Dame un segundito.
Jean011202 dice, viva el perico.
Shut up. Que ok. No, pero no me spoileen, cabrones.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Chicos, no hagan backseating.
Florugu
¿ok?
dice,
Por favor.
mamá huevo.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
¿Y acá qué hay?
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode.
¿Cómo?
He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley
Mira.
had been trained never to speak
Shark
up, but
115.
now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Ah, tengo que decirlo. Shark 115.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115.
Ah,
He
tiburón
spoke it
nocturno
into the receiver,
115.
right there on the wall.
Tiburón 115. Night Shark 115.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we
Lo
can't get on
estoy
with the story.
diciendo,
This is
pedazo
a
de
crucial
mierda.
step.
Night Shark 115.
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it. But you know what? It's
jodan.
pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this
Night
one
Shark
single
115.
thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously.
estoy
If you didn't want to see what I had to
intentando,
show you,
pedazo de
then why
mierda.
did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Cómo? Ve a la derecha, Stanley. Tú puedes. Ve a la derecha.
Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both
Llegó a
correct. You
dice
can't be
que
wrong
ganas
here.
de
We can
un
work
gogo
together.
de
I'll
esos que
accept
te
whatever
dejan
you do.
inválido
I
en
simply
Dalje.
need you to take that
Cállense.
step forward, please. Choose. Do something.
Es lo que yo les decía. No hacer
This is more
nada.
important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So,
Aquí acaba.
are you there?
Final malo, neta.
Danny, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time
Pobrecito.
to decide.
El
Time to
señor.
make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing
pobrecito.
to do. Take as much time as you need.
Ah, eso fue un arrón. Me puse triste. Güey, pobrecito. Blue, haz la ruta correcta, por favor. Ay, es que somos así. ¿Ustedes creen que eso va con mi personalidad? Hacerlo bien. Hermano, soy terco de corazón. No puedo. Vale,
All
no
of
es.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to
no
go
es.
to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Va de nuevo. A
When
ver,
Stanley
solo una
came
vez,
to a
¿ok?
set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Voy a ir a la izquierda. Le voy a hacer caso. Voy a ser buena gente esta vez. ¿Ok?
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Voy a ser buena
Feeling a
gente.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
¿Cómo?
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Oye, ¿es verdad?
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley
placas
felt
cambian,
to have
¿verdad?
finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone.
No cambian.
He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself
¿Qué
sooner.
verga?
Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their
¿Estás
dreams,
hablando?
the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
Ya me perdí, güey.
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Ah, no había nada más. Pensé que me daba un final o algo, te lo juro, no sé. Dije, igual y si salgo, me da un final o algo, no sé.